morning, MASH After Jog Thoughts. My name is Yonela Mashalaba, aka the iceberg that never broke. Again, these are just my views. This is just my own analysis of what is happening. You have a right to disagree with me. You have a right to agree. State your comments below. Let's do this thing together. So, end of this is episode 3 of Good Morning MASH After Jog Thoughts. So today we're going to be, obviously, I can't resist it, discuss the resignations within the Democratic Alliance after the elections of Helen Zille doing her comeback in politics and how that has affected the Democratic Alliance. And I'm going to be speaking on 3 things. I'm going to speaking on Mmusi Maimane as the leader of DA. I'm going to be speaking on Helen Zille. or Godzilla, as she is famously known, and the Democratic Alliance. First of all, Mmusi Maimane, for me, sealed his fate the day he allowed himself to be parachuted to the position that he occupied as the leader of the Democratic Alliance. For me, I've always thought that Mmusi Maimane leaving a constituency that he built with so much hard work in Johannesburg was always a mistake. I've always seen that as a mistake. For me, if you just basically have been in the political terrain in itself, it is always said that once you are parachuted, you will always forever have to respond to the needs and demands of the person that parachuted you. And once it seems like that you are getting too big for the pants that have been borrowed, to you, you haven't earned those pants. They were given to you. They will always be taken back. So we saw this thing coming. We are not surprised about what has happened to Mmusi Maimane, because Mmusi Maimane politically currently does not have a constituency that would back his position. And we have seen this thing happening to Mmusi Maimane. We've seen it in parliament. We've seen it with policy issues, that when Mmusi Maimane speaks in the Democratic Alliance, no one has confidence in what he has to say. Not only because Mmusi Maimane has been chopping and changing his positions in different policy issues within the Democratic Alliance, but also because when Mmusi Maimane speaks, we are not sure whether that is the actual stance of the Democratic Alliance. We will wait for Oosthuizen to say something. We will wait for Oosthuizen to stand in parliament before we have to understand what the Democratic Alliance position is. We have to wait to see if Helen Zille on Twitter does not rebut, in fact, the position of the Democratic Alliance. So there's always been these 2 centers of power within the Democratic Alliance, and we all knew that it was not going to last. And not just that, the fact that Mmusi Maimane himself did not give himself time to have a hold of a particular strong constituency. Mmusi Maimane has been a weak political leader. Mmusi Maimane has been weak. Mmusi Maimane did not have the influence that is needed for someone to drive a party such as the Democratic Alliance. Even though, to his credit, we have seen so many progressive changes under Mmusi Maimane. We've seen the progressive leadership, black leadership. We have a black leadership in the Eastern Cape now. We have black leadership in KZN now. The Democratic Alliance became a strong opposition in KZN, something that was unthought of 10 years ago. So Mmusi Maimane, in terms of progressive changes within the Democratic Alliance, he has done a lot. And in essence, like I said at the beginning, his fate was always sealed, because it does seem, getting back to Helen Zille, that Helen Zille is unable to distinguish herself from the Democratic Alliance, and the lines are becoming blurred on a daily basis. We no longer understand, or we're going to a point rather, where we are no longer going to understand the difference between Helen Zille and the Democratic Alliance, because of how she has chosen to position herself and depict her politics within the Democratic Alliance. She has portrayed herself as someone who is indispensable in the politics of the Democratic Alliance and the life of the Democratic Alliance in itself. So even that relationship between and Mmusi Maimane was never going to exist in a coherent manner, because it is Helen Zille who herself had confessed that Maimane Nomazibuko were a mistake that she had made during the time that she was the leader, that she feels like she had moved, or she pushed the party into identity politics, and she seemed like she wants to do anything to correct those mistakes. And if Maimane is one of those mistakes, then there's no ways that we can pretend that there was going to be coexistence between the chairperson and Mmusi Maimane as the leader of the Democratic Alliance. It was not going to exist, because she was coming back to, or it seems like she has been coming back to clean up the mistakes that she feels she has made. And one of those mistakes was Mmusi Maimane. And Mmusi Maimane, then from that day, from that on, we understood that he needed to go. He understood that he needed to go, And for me, Helen is a very, very cunning politician. It seems like Helen Zille is willing to break down the Democratic Alliance, rebuild the Democratic Alliance on her own accord. And it has been said that she does not necessarily always get her way, which I tend to disagree with, because when Helen Zille feels that in order for the Democratic Alliance to survive, she needs black people in that political party to kind of cushion the Democratic Alliance, she will garner support to make sure that that ideology and thought progresses. And when Helen Zille is done with black leaders within the Democratic Alliance, we've seen that with Umazibuko, we've seen that before with Udelil, she will discard them, and she will garner support within the Democratic Alliance to get her way. When she wants to resign, she will make everyone understand why she needs to resign, and when she needs to come back, she will still garner the same support. So I definitely disagree that Helen Zille does not always get her way within the Democratic Alliance. And to move on to the Democratic Alliance itself, a Democratic Alliance, as I said, it's becoming more difficult every day to distinguish Democratic Alliance and Helen Zille. A Democratic Alliance has always been faced with a problem of trying to tap into new territory to garner new supporters while still satisfying the old guard. Ne? So it has actually done that very well. If we can see how the Democratic Alliance has started being very active in terms of branch level politics, activism politics, where it has garnered so many black supporters, But it seems like the funders of the Democratic Alliance are not happy with that move. That came to this conclusion that says that no, we are losing Afrikaans voters and we need to do something about it. So the coffers of the Democratic Alliance are seemingly not happy with the trajectory of the Democratic Alliance, and maybe rightfully so, because you will notice that they probably feel that at a certain point they're not going to have a voice within the Democratic Alliance, which has always been a space for them to view their social and economical frustration. And now they feel like they're going to be their concerns are going to be overclouded by black concerns, or what would be seen as progressive politics, wanting to satisfy the black voters as much as the white voters. I don't think they want that compromise at this point in time. And for me, the DA seems to be very confused with that stance, because Helen Zille herself, as much as she says that she is facing problems with identity politics or race politics herself, she has on her own accord have agreed that in certain instances, whether we focus on race politics or class politics, the means or the end game of that will always be somehow the same. So what seems to be the problem here is not necessarily the system, but the naming of the system, the branding of the system is uncomfortable to the Democratic Alliance. It seems to be in denial about the fact that identity politics are the driving force, unfortunately, of the South African politics. I don't want this thing to be long. I would have wanted to continue with this topic, but before I go, I have to say I don't think it's doom and gloom for the Democratic Alliance, because in my opinion, in politics, there has to be chaos. Chaos is the norm in politics. It is just in how you manage that chaos that one would either survive or implode. And I don't think the Democratic Alliance will implode, because Helen Zille is a shrewd politician. Helen Zille is a cunning politician. She knows what she wants and she knows how to get it. They might go through a phase where they will lose more votes, but they will go to a point where they will actually be steady at certain point and perhaps maybe start growing. But I don't think it's something that is going to happen in the now. So I don't think it's doom and gloom. I still think the future for the Democratic Alliance is bright, because for me, when there's chaos, there is large opportunity of new leadership to emerge. It will just be that for me. My concern is the judgments that Helen Zille makes at very crucial points in time, which are sometimes very questionable. So the judgment that Helen Zille makes from now going forward will be very important for the future of the Democratic Alliance. Again, this is Uyonela Mashalaba, aka the iceberg that never broke. I will see you next time on the 4th episode. Take care. See you guys.